You are now listening to Thinking Out Loud with your hosts, J. Lip and J.Rhodes.
Thinking Out Loud, it's your boy J Lip. We back at it yet again. You know what this is and you know who I am. My co-host is back in the building, the big homie J.Rhodes. J.Rhodes, what's good, baby?
What's up, bro? I'm back fresh off exile.
Representing the D by way of the Shy.
Always.
And of course, we got the queen in the building, Ash. Ash, what's good?
Hey, everybody.
Representing what now? The DC area?
No area, DC proper.
Correction. I appreciate your honesty. And of course, the big homie, Tony Golden. Big homie, what's good, baby?
Everything is blessed. Everything is blessed. Presenting at Columbus, Ohio, Buckeye Country. You know how we do up here, man.
Yep.
Man, Spartan.
Oh no, Spartanville.
Clowning your ass.
Go green.
Clowning your ass.
Hey,
It's Spartan City.
Who said go green? We'll see you. We'll see you here shortly.
Everybody on this podcast is
right. It's 3-on-1, my G. It's 3-on-1.
Not everybody, but it's all love. Y'all struggling right now, so I'm not the one to throw salt in the wound or spit in your face, anything like that. It's okay.
All right, moving on.
That's another conversation.
I'm cutting off your mic. Now, moving on. I want to dive into the topic of sports and politics. Now, we know in recent news media, social media history, we've been having a lot of discussions that have been going on as far as the controversies of do we kneel, do we stand, do we take a seat, do we pledge allegiance? Like, all of the shit that's been coming up right now has to do with politics, but it's kind of bled into the arena of sports. And so the first question that I have for this evening, or really the first topic is, do we have a coinciding topic of sports and politics as far as how they merge as one? Should they stay separate or should they be one? So I want to kind of open the floor up and I want to give a little bit of background to the big homie Tony G. Tony G actually played ball on a collegiate level, so I want to hear his perspective from being a player of the sport and understanding what does that mean to you as far as how people are looking at politics and sports current day.
They go hand in hand just as much as sports and entertainment, or cereal and milk, however you want to put it. They definitely do. even back, the Olympics, man. Jesse Owens and the whole, that whole episode, and then the three brothers. I got to get their names, but the guys that stood up at the pedestal there, held their fists up, representing with their protests. So
Tommy Smith. Yeah, I got you.
Okay, yeah.
But even before that, gladiators and the arenas and the Romans, like it always originated together.
I mean, we can go there. We'll say Muhammad Ali as well. Muhammad Ali.
Hold on one second. I heard a What's that, Rhodes?
I thought we were focusing on black politics.
Well, we are, but I want to make sure that we're all inclusive as far as the overarching topic. Do sports and politics coincide? And now I want to say, Tone, do you feel like they still coincide?
Definitely. I mean, again, since the beginning of time, since you had the two, they've always coincided with each other, hand in hand, man. I mean, as much as you can get, like, definitely, because some, like we're seeing right now, some of it is being played into the sports arena, especially with the NFL and the NBA, with the whole, the orange guy in the White House, won't say his name, but this guy, talking about what he said last weekend, so it spawned, those protests, which really has been going on, but he's making a point to kind of, like LeBron said, kind of go at the sports world. He's bringing his arena into it. So definitely, even though it's nothing new, it's like sports and entertainment. It's nothing new. They've always been together.
All right.
So, like I had mentioned before, since the beginning of time, with the Romans, you had sports arenas and you had the kings and queens and emperors. Just waiting to watch the games, and it's the same style, and that's why I opposed football from the beginning, because it's very political, and I don't like the setup, just to be honest, even before all of this.
Well, hold on. Let's take a step back real quick. I just want to make sure we understand that. Do you believe that politics and sports coincide with each other?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, even though you don't like it, correct?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I would agree because anything that affects money is political. So definitely sports.
So you agree that it does coincide?
Absolutely.
Okay. So with that being said, if we all in agreement that sports and politics coincide, why do we see so much pushback about sports and politics needing to be separated or segregated for a better term, because one of the questions that I have for this topic is, should sports and politics coincide?
Yeah, that's tough, man, because you want to say yes because everybody knows, a few years ago when Condoleezza Rice was, in the White House there with Mr. Bush, she's a lover of the sports. So, of course, anything I think that America, white and black, can, grasp, get grips around, so it's going to be put in the spotlight. And sports it's like my man J.Rhodes just said, anytime you bring money into it, anytime money is there, money is involved in politics. Money is involved in sports. So the two are going to meet. But I think so. I mean, to some degree, it shouldn't be, because I'm a fan of everything, basketball, football, baseball, you name it, everything being organic. But at the same time, we all know that's not the case anymore. And it hasn't been for a few years now.
So should I be clear in understanding what you're saying is they should not coincide? Like sports should be sports, politics should be politics.
Yes, I think they should. To a degree, they should. They should.
Now, what degree do you believe that to? Because
Now, it's almost like the argument, church and state. Should churches have political parties in there, trying to take the members of the congregation to vote towards one guy or gal that's running for any type of political office? No. I think that should be something, again, like sports, left alone, organic. So, but to a degree, I'm gonna just say this. I'm gonna say overall, no. I don't think they should. I don't think they should coincide.
Well, I think any entertainment where you influence the masses of the sort becomes at some point political, because any man with principles will stand up for what he feels is wrong. And I think that's what Colin has done, and he set an amazing precedence for hopefully our future.
I mean, I agree with what you said, Ashley. I think that it's kind of hard to generalize it, saying any man with principles is going to stand up, because
I agree.
Whenever you have investments and livelihood at stake, unfortunately, it does kind of emasculate and slightly neutralize how you really felt. I mean, there's a lot of people who we don't voice our true opinions because we know that it's not the status quo, is not the quorum, it's not the proper venue to voice that kind of opinion. So, athletes have a lot of influence and power, as you alluded to, but they have a lot at stake, because a lot of their money really comes from endorsements. So they're afraid a lot of times to take a stand. And there's only very few athletes who can kind of, like, for example, LeBron James called Donald Trump a bum, but he can get away with it. He's not going to lose his endorsement with Nike or whoever else he with. But Colin Kaepernick, at the same time, he's not the same magnitude of a star as LeBron James. And you can see he's kind of been blackballed and exiled from the NFL. So it really is difficult to play your position. But I applaud that man.
Right. So you applaud him, but you still disagree with the fact that we should merge politics into the sports realm.
No, I don't disagree with that. I think that anytime that you have a platform, you should use it to promote change and awareness.
So then that just contradicts what you just said, because
exactly.
No. It doesn't contradict what I said. I said you should. However, it is difficult because you have to. It's a business decision. Do you want to? That means you endorse it. Do you want to be the face of the change like Colin Kaepernick and sit at home and not have a job? Or do you want to just say, you know what, I wasn't the first one that said that, but I can take a deal with the owner and I still got my job? So
well, hold on one second, Rose. Let me be clear. The question is, should sports and politics coincide? You have to choose a side, yes or no.
It's tough, man. I know.
Yeah, right. Y'all trying to make this right.
But that's what thinking out loud is, baby. This is thinking out loud. This is where we talk about it. Should sports and politics coincide? Yes or no?
I mean, that's a really hard question for me to answer, because at the same time, the athletes are not politicians. However, they do have a platform to create awareness. So,
what type of awareness, though?
And that's political what politics is.
Exactly.
No. Politics is a little bit more than awareness. Politics is being able to create change, propose bills.
Exactly. It's influencing change or some type of policy.
Right, but athletes don't do that. Athletes just create awareness because of their popularity. There's very few real athlete activists. You know what I'm saying? There's very few of them.
We got to be careful when we say activists, though, because I feel like we got to take a step back even from that and say, what is an activist? To you,
Right,
what is
because
an
it's not the
activist?
same as a politician.
And let me let Ashley define that. Ashley, you are an activist in DC, correct?
No, she's
Uh,
a politician.
I
no, I'm
said
not a
no,
politician.
no,
Thank
no,
you
no,
very
no.
much.
I said,
I'm not a
Ash,
politician.
are you an
Thank you.
activist?
So I would call myself an advocate. I'm not an activist, but
Okay.
I am an advocate.
How do you
For
define the two? Because that's what I want to get back to. What do we define as an activist versus an advocate versus a politician? Like, we know a politician is a figurehead, a person who takes on the political realm and says, I want to represent this group of constituents and I will represent them to the best of my abilities, blah, blah, blah. Now
All
you
right.
have an advocate or an activist. An activist to me is someone who is saying, I'm going to outstretch myself to reach the boundaries or overstep the boundaries that are keeping me within the confines of whatever the belief system that I am in, and I'm going to stretch myself outside of that, and I'm going to
so
be vocal.
partially, yes. So okay, I'm an
I
advocate,
got the Google dictionary definitions right now.
but
Man,
I'll be very clear. There are times where I may be considered an activist because like actually acting on political or social change. So it the lines can get blurry, but at the same time, if you truly believe in your heart and your soul that black men have been treated wrong and or blacks have been shot by police unarmed, then something in you should make you want to stand up, just like Beyonce did. She took a chance in her video. She took a chance at the Super Bowl. And these are things that we have to do as entertainers and sports
but to
guys.
me that sounds like an activist though.
I mean, whether it's an activist or not, you have a platform, so you
As it,
Right,
need to
but to
be.
me an activist is a person who exhibits act. So
okay,
she
okay.
exhibited an act.
According to Google, an activist is
Oh,
a person who campaigns to bring about political or social change. Campaigns. An advocate is a person who publicly supports or recommends a particular cause or policy. So it sounds like Beyonce being an advocate in that sense. And a politician is a person who professionally involved in politics, especially as a holder of a candidate or elected office. So none of us are politicians. We're either activists or advocates.
all right, so let's take it back then. So let's remove
Mm,
the word politician, politics, all of that shit. Let's take it back. And I want to bring back my man Tone in this. Like, if we're saying we're either activists or advocates, or honestly, we're none of the above, we're just participating in the sport, which, again, as a viewer of the NFL, as a viewer of the NBA, or whatever sport that you participate in viewership in, are we activists? Are we advocates? Or are we just participating in said culture that is the status quo? Tone, what you think?
Oh, in a perfect world, you just, like I alluded to earlier, I want, me personally, I can't speak for everybody else, but I want everything, I'm foolish enough to think or to want everything to stay organic. But unfortunately, of course, we are, brought into
What
this
do you mean by
politician,
organic, though?
pure. Nothing brought into the game that should or shouldn't be there.
But okay,
Even it,
great point. What should or shouldn't be there? That's what I'm trying to get to.
the
Should
sport,
these
the
political
rules,
discussions not be a part of football? Should these political discussions not be a part of kneeling for the flag? Should we not have these?
so why is the flag in it in the first place?
Hold
Let's
on.
get
Before
to
we
the
get there, hold on.
real.
Hold on, Ash.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to work with Tone for a sec because my man has played the game and he's played it further than anybody else I know right now. So, Tone, with that being said, do you feel any obligation as a black man who played the game at the collegiate level that if there was some type of racial injustice going on in the community at that time, you have a responsibility to kneel, to sit down, to not come out? Do you feel any type of political responsibility to represent your culture?
I think every male or female, in my case, males that participated in NCAA or whether it be NFL, any level, to definitely represent your culture and who you are because you're a big part of the game. The NFL is 70, I think it was the last check was maybe 70 something percent African Americans and other races of, your black faces
Right, people of
in the
color.
game. So,
Yeah.
right. So I feel that if if
We don't
that's
want
the
to say
case,
black faces. Like that's a
well, you know,
dangerous
when I
term.
say black faces, I mean I don't necessarily mean just African Americans alone, but I mean you have quite a bit of Nigerians in the game. You have a couple of Haitians, Jamaicans in the game. So
Right. So you believe
anybody
that they should
that looks,
represent that.
I believe that all that should be brought. And I tell you, what major sport, and it's like Rose alluded to earlier with the money thing. The NBA has done a really, I wouldn't say, I'm not going to say a really good job, but a pretty good job of saying, hey, even though we might not, but we do care, because you look at the NBA, it's a huge melting pot, because basketball is more of a universal game than NFL is, but so they have all this NBA care, and they bring in all these different coaches into the game. I think with the NFL being the biggest sport, NFL being the flagship for major sports in the United States, that we definitely should be more represented. And with the whole situation with the flag, it took our hands, our blood, sweat, and tears to build this country as well. So I think that's what a lot of these protests are trying to say. Hey, we deserve a piece of this pie. Also, we deserve to be treated as first class citizens. And when you have, like I said last check, I'm not sure the accurate number now, but when you have 70% or more of the game, with it being African Americans or other African,
Other
cultures,
minorities. Other
yeah,
minorities.
other we'll say minorities, even though I don't like that word. But anyway, it's a different topic.
Why don't you
But
like the word
uh,
minorities?
because when you think minority, you think minor, not big.
No, that's
Minor.
not what you think. Minorities is literally the minority of a population.
Yeah, I
But you
mean,
can't tell him what he thinks. That's what you
Right.
think.
Right.
and that's what
But
it
I can
is.
tell him
And
if what
that's
he
how.
thinks is wrong, Ash. Like don't try to change the definition of a
Well,
word.
I mean,
Now he really wasn't
even
though.
that, but
He said what he thinks, not he.
right.
Not that's what it was. But go
But
ahead.
okay,
But
so if someone says something that they don't, if someone says something that they think that's wrong, should we not correct them, or we should just let that fly?
it's the key word is an opinion. So whether it's wrong or not, if
But
I
that's my
see,
problem. Is it's not an opinion though. The word minority means something. Like
well, it does.
a
But it also
minority owner of a business is the smallest owner of a business, or the person who owns the
Oh,
least amount of a business. So you're a
so
minority owner.
so as minorities in America, we have the least amount of concern by percentage.
No,
You know,
I would say in America right now, as a minority community or culture, we have the least amount of impact overall on the country's decision for how we're governed. That's a fact.
yeah, and I mean,
that's why he don't like that term.
exact. There you
That's
have it.
fine,
Right.
but you can say you don't
There
like
you
it, but
have it.
don't say that it's not what it is, though.
Well, no, he didn't say that. He said, "You said why don't you like it?" And I said, he said he don't like it because what it sounds like or what it feels
Right,
like
right.
to him.
And what I'm trying to do is help him understand that you don't
Cut
have to
this
feel
out.
whatever. Go ahead, Tone. Finish your point so I can fry
I
you.
know.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just, if somebody says a you have minor difficulties. That means you have very small difficulties. You have, it's not
No,
a
nigga, I'm
major.
saying don't focus on minor. Keep going what your point was.
Well, I mean, you took it all the way to left field. I'm just trying to bring it back in, and I just
Oh,
totally just
that's my
lost
fault.
all the point that keep it, where we going.
Okay, so
So
again, one more time, you said that we feel a certain way when it comes to sports and politics coinciding, but we do or we don't feel like that's the natural progression of our society right now.
No, it's not a natural regression. I think because it's not a natural progression because I think there's an old mentality that kind of stems from slavery, even though it doesn't have to be a racial thing. But the thing is, sports are controlled by team owners, and they typically control the wealth and how much the players make. You know what I'm saying? Like they basically the athletes are employees of them. So as a boss slash team owner, you want your business, your company to be ran a certain way. So that's why you can kind of see at least that a lot of owners would not want to be bothered with the political protests and the racial discriminations that are going on in the world. Granted, they may say, well, yeah, I care about it, but this is football. This is a sport. This is a business. So I don't think it's natural. However, I do think it is natural for a person of color or a person who is directly affected by the events in America and they feel that it is not being addressed properly to use their platform as an athlete, as a star athlete, to promote awareness. So do they naturally coincide? No. However, I do think that we're seeing the gamut change where athletes have more power than the owners do. They don't have the money, but they have the power.
Okay. Ash, what you think?
They have the influence. They don't have the power.
Okay,
Speak on that.
that's a great
But
word.
I will say, I'm gonna agree. I don't know if you guys saw what Shannon Sharp said, but it's truly about money, and that just goes back to Rose's point. If it affects their money, then it's a problem. And Donald Trump took a shot at them personally, and it caused a rift. And I think what's happening, like they're going to keep doing the same things no matter what when it comes to about their money. The players have a choice, and some of them have chosen to opt in late in the game or not at all. But I'm going to go back to the point of, if you are a person of principle, and you have a platform, you need to speak up. And I applaud Colin for that.
I agree with you. Tone, what you think about Colin speaking up?
What Miss Ashley just said is the nail right on the head. I think like we were discussing a few minutes ago with the platform LeBron James has. A few of the issues that he had spoke out on. I remember the big thing a couple of years ago was when that unfortunate event happened with Mr. Eric Garner. He wore the I Can't Breathe T-shirts, and I think when you have somebody as big as LeBron James with that, using his platform for that, even with in the NFL, I really wish he had the same track record. I think a few years ago, had he done something when he was with the 49ers and they were a successful franchise going to Super Bowls and stuff like that, it would have been even bigger. But, it is what it is. But I applaud.
Well, hold on one second. I actually want to take a moment and say I agree with you 100%. And the question I have is, why wasn't that a topic when it happened, when Colin Kaepernick was at the pinnacle of his career? Why wasn't that the time when he decided to speak out, or rather take a knee for the movement or for the culture or for the injustices that he felt this country was impressing upon people of color? And
I don't think that's a fair criticism, because that's
Why
the case.
not?
You can say that about because you can say that about everyone. How come anybody didn't do something the first time it happened? Like, people
That's
sometimes
not
it
the
takes
first time.
a while.
No, I'm not asking about the first time. I'm saying when you're at the pinnacle, meaning if you address, give me 1 second. If you address Colin's situation and you say that he addressed the injustices of people of color versus people in power of, let's say, just police brutality, for instance. If you say that, why was he not vouching or really being a quote unquote advocate for that when he had a bigger voice? Because you take away the argument that people have when they say, "Oh, he's just a second-rate quarterback. He's just trying to get some shine. He's just trying to get some notoriety on his way out the door." Like, you take away that whole argument when you're on the top stage. You're on the shield. The shield of the NFL is the America great sport, and you're not taking an opportunity to say, you know what, while I'm up here, I'm going to make y'all know what it is that I feel and what I believe in, but instead you wait until there's some type of potential risk of you losing your career or really kind of going down a negative downfall. Like, that to me is the real question. Why did there not be a message, or why was there not a message portrayed on his behalf for the same injustices that happened before he even took his team to the Super Bowl?
Nah, I disagree with that completely, because the thing is, because he's still an athlete first, and if he's at the Super Bowl or in the playoff,
I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
No, that's not.
He's a black man. He's a black man.
No. Because the thing is, you were a black man, and so was President Obama, and so was everybody else. Nobody else stopped what they was doing right then and there to take a stand. Everybody had to take their own priority.
Rosa Parks did. Dr. Martin Luther King did. Malcolm X did. Mahatma Gandhi did.
That's not true.
I can tell you all the people who did.
Rosa Parks was on her way doing her normal routine, and decided to be defiant. She did not go out of her way to do something. That was just something that happened to her.
Bro, what I'm
That's a
telling you is people. What I'm telling you is people didn't wait until they were on their way out.
but that's not fair to say that he should have did it at that time. He did it, and he's the one that we associate with that's taking a stance. So don't criticize for when he did it. The fact that he did it, because the fact is nobody did it before him in that manner.
Whoa.
Oh,
So
I
I
thought
can't
you
have
were
an
talking
opinion.
about LeBron. Hold on, I'm
Hold on.
confused.
Yeah, we're
now.
not on LeBron yet. No, we're talking
He
about
talking about
Kaepernick.
Kaepernick.
Oh, I thought you were talking about why did LeBron wait to?
No. I'm talking about Kaepernick. The fact that there were injustices. There were unarmed killing of.
Oh, you. Oh, I agree with Rose on that.
Yeah, you tripping? Yeah, like, how you gonna knock that man for
All
kicking
right,
his feet when he did,
Tone.
but he
Do
didn't do
you
it in the
agree or
Super Bowl? Or
disagree?
that's
I mean, I disagree with, or rather, I'm sorry, I agree with what Rose was saying because
Man,
you're not always, I guess you can say,
Conscience.
mentally, we change, day to day. And
yeah.
maybe he knew the problem was there, but he didn't really know how to approach the problem, or didn't know how to deal with the problem, or maybe he just wasn't as we use. He wasn't as woke then. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you learn. You have
okay, so
Hey,
you know
Lip, you
what?
gonna walk out? You gonna walk out of a board review for $100,000 raise to go protest down the street,
right.
or you gonna go to the
You
review
know,
first and then go?
right.
It's not about me. It's about
Exactly.
we
And
talk
again,
about Kaepernick.
and you know me from some of the discussions, with some of the discussions we had. I'm a glass half full thinker. I'm a glass half full guy. So maybe he was building his platform then. Maybe he was. It was under construction. He said, "Okay, I'm going to unveil this," and whatever. Maybe that's what was going on.
Well,
I'm
maybe
always
he just got tired.
yeah, that too. Because I'm gonna tell you a little personal thing. I used to be one of those guys. I used to be one of those black guys that said, "Oh, police are good people and this and that." I've never had a personal incident with a policeman and this and that. But you start to read different stories, whether it be social media or books and different things like that. You see it on TV, and you start to think like, "Man, is this really going on?" And then you have friends. If you've been to any, which we all have been to a college, university, and you know how diverse it is. So you have friends from different walks of life. White, black, Asian, Indian, whatever. And you have different outtakes, different opinions. And I tell you, the past few years, I've really become, to notice different things with patterns of, racism and different things like that. And I share one story with we were playing as a school also there in northeastern Ohio, at Ashland, and I can remember they had a running back, and he was a little white guy, and little guy's supposed to be their top key player, or whatever. So me being a middle linebacker and I'm the quarterback of the defense, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to key this guy, we're going to shut him down. So we pretty much did that. Some of my other teammates, we were eating, we were taking him out of the game. We were making him a non-factor at that point in the game, and he always you knock him down, he always have something to say getting up. So I noticed every time a white player would hit him, knock him down, they'd be an MFer. Okay, that's cool. You hear profanity in the game. Okay, I get him. I knock him down. I get up. Okay, I'm an N-word now.
Okay,
So
and just so we're clear, when he said a white person was knocking him down, he was like, "You a motherfucker," and then
right,
when a black person knocked him down, he was like, "Oh, you a fucking nigger."
right. I wasn't the MFer. I said, well, why can I be the MFer? Why do I have to be that? You didn't call the white guy that N-word.
So like
You
Trump, yeah, same
Yeah,
difference.
so you pick and chose your insult. So when it happened to be, a player with a darker skin pigmentation than you resort back to, more than likely which how you were raised, and you fired off that N-bomb, and you said that. So it was kind of open then. I always wondered like, well, why does it have to be this way? Why is it that way? Well, again, maybe at that point Colin didn't experience anything or didn't think about it and didn't really come to he got woke. He started reading a little bit, started arming himself with knowledge to what he's hitting these people with now in the media. When you hear him talk very eloquently, his thoughts are put out there, and you can't say that he's ignorant. You can't say that it's not fact because everything he's putting out there is factual information. But you're still going to have that person that's going to resort to the N word because it's not. It's
No, and I understand what you're saying, and I guess in this instance, I have to realize that on this panel right now, y'all are saying that I'm wrong for believing that Colin should have represented whatever his cause was, he should have represented it when he was in position to speak on it, where he would garner more attention than he would when he did. If that's the
Yeah, I disagree with you because you can never
no, no,
say,
no.
you
Hold on,
know,
hold on,
like
hold
that.
on. I'm asking y'all a question. Like I'm saying, when he's on the road to the Super Bowl, if he would have took a knee and would have said like, "I'm on my way to win the national title
You
for,"
don't know when that moment hit for him though, so
Right.
we
Right,
can't.
right.
and that's fair. And
You
that's fair. That's what I want to
yeah
ask y'all. So go
yeah.
ahead, Ash.
I'm just saying in terms of there are things that I feel like I've just gotten involved in on a more local level, and I you know, if I felt bad for not being a part of it at first, we'd be nowhere. So that we can't think like that.
Okay, and I appreciate that, Rose. What you got? Because I also want to say that even though I do agree with you, we can't judge another man by his circumstances. I still have the opinion that you would eliminate the risk of people saying X, Y, Z. Oh, he's doing this because of he wants to get on, or he's doing this because he's a second-rate quarterback, or he's doing this because he's trying to save his career. Like I feel like you eliminate all that when you're a Tom Brady, or you're an Aaron Rodgers, or you're an any type of top-tier quarterback, or any leader of a sports team. You eliminate those contradictions to your own belief system if you stand up tall when you're at your pinnacle. So, for
Now,
instance, go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
Rose. Go ahead. No,
but
no, you good.
I think that's a relatively new and false narrative though, because he was taking a knee, all last season. You see what I'm saying? And the thing is too, like going back to the original point, was why he didn't do it. I think a lot of times as individuals we feel something, but we don't know what we can do. Like we don't realize how much of an influence or how much of a change we can make as an
That's true.
individual. So I think he didn't say too much. All he did was take a knee. He took a knee and
He
he was
said
like,
a
"Look."
little bit. He said a
I
little
mean,
bit.
he did, but I'm saying, but really, the actual the symbolism was that I'm going to kneel during the national anthem. Then they started questioning, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Then he started explaining himself. So I think
Absolutely. Yeah, you're
just
right.
Right.
that
He
gesture,
wasn't showboating at
right?
all.
That gesture just spoke volume. So I don't think it was about like this whole narrative, like, oh, he's trying to get in the NFL, he's trying to get some attention. No, he was in the NFL. He was still an active player, and what they've done is they've devalued him to justify him not being in the NFL. That's this new narrative. Oh, he's not a
Mm-hmm.
But
he's
is
not a
that
qualified
right though?
quarterback anymore.
Is that right
No,
though?
that's politics. How you talking about? That's politics. When they defame
Mhm.
your character in order to justify the discrimination.
Right,
Right.
but is
Yep.
that right though? I
Oh,
want to
I
ask
never,
you. And
I
Tone,
never
you
said
played the
that.
game. Is that right, Tone?
No, that's not right because what the argument now that's being discussed is look at his stats. Look at his statistical input when he was an active player in the NFL. It's right up there. It's not Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers numbers. It's not
And let me make sure I make this clear. When you talk about stats, we're talking about the fact that Colin Kaepernick has a better statistical record than almost every second string quarterback in the league, and some first
exactly.
string. So go ahead, Tone.
Exactly. So to like what you guys said earlier to defame him and try to bring him down to make him not worthy of being picked up. When you look at the quarterback for, I'm going to say probably 23, 24 teams in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns included, why isn't this guy on the roster? You can say that. Look at the statistical input, the things that he can bring to the game. Last time I watched him, that man can still throw in a pretty ball. That man still can probably run a subpar, 4.3, 4.4 speed. But you got guys
Mm.
stiffs out here like, a couple of the quarterback for the Bears. I'm not sure the gentleman's name. Lennon, I think it is, or something like that. You look at that guy. You look at, okay, the Miami Dolphins needed a quarterback, and they didn't go there. They didn't go, hey, Colin Kaepernick. They didn't go there. They went to the retirement heap and pulled out Jay Cutler, who was getting ready to go on as
Exactly.
Well,
analyst.
well,
So
that's
Exactly.
all of
because seriously, that's because if you at any point seem controversial where you're gonna mess up my money, and not me personally, but these owners, they don't want nothing to do with you. But if your controversy makes them money, then they're all over you. It's
But Ash,
Yeah.
the
all
but
about
Ash,
money.
but Ash, the problem is from what I'm hearing from Tone and from the research I've looked up as far as the statistics go, he still was a better performer. he still will get you more yards.
Performance is nothing when it comes. That's like saying, "Oh, this guy is a better accountant. His numbers are on point." But if you are not like that work, it's not about your performance or your talent. It's about if you're going to cost them money. If you're too
Hmm.
much of a personality, that's going to be negatively shined upon. So
Do
you
you
Wow,
just
that's a very good
do
point.
you agree with that, Tone? That's
I
the nature of the
wholeheartedly, I do.
NFL.
That's actually, yeah. Yes. I mean, like what you said, what you guys said about, they pick and choose. Yeah. I mean, but what Ashley just said is again the nail right on the head because, but I guess when you can say you can take another angle and say I'll take that back. You could say, um, but some of the coaches had said, behind closed doors, off the record that he wasn't a distraction. He wasn't seeking attention, and for what he was doing, it was he only opened up and said what he was doing when he was asked. But back to what Ashley was saying, I mean, that's exactly what it is. You take somebody that's really popular with, you take, I don't know, I worked retail for a few years, and you could have a person that's late to work all the time, dysfunctional, and depending on the job, that's not going to fly. I don't care how talented they are, at doing whatever the job requires you to do. If you have that, that I'll use the word unlikability. It's not a word, but I'll use it. Not a lot of people particularly care for
Undesirable.
you.
We'll say
Yeah,
undesirable.
we'll
Yeah.
say undesirable. If they don't particularly, have glowing things to say about you, but you do the job when you're there. I think that's not good, but again, depending on depending on the job, but Colin Kaepernick being a serviceable second string quarterback, somebody that I think could probably has been in the league long enough to be able to digest the system and to be able to go out and put that system to work using his God given abilities. Again, 25 quarterbacks, second string quarterbacks on the roster is not better than this guy. But he made it unpopular for what he was standing up for, and that's why he ultimately led to him not having a job.
All
Unfortunate,
right.
sad to say, but
And I can respect that. I can respect that. My main thing right now was to make sure that we're all aligned on, do sports coincide with politics? We did that. Do or should sports coincide with politics? We did that. Now, my next question is, we talked a lot about the NFL. Why is it that the NFL and the NBA have a lot to say about the injustices about black people, but we never hear anything about Major League Baseball, NASCAR, golf, hockey, or any other sport that's predominantly white about the same injustices that are happening in the country that we're a part of? And the reason why I mention that is because Trump recently released a tweet that talked about how proud he was of NASCAR for representing his country well by not kneeling, by not taking a knee, by saluting the flag by any means. Is there a subconscious racial divide between sports of the NFL and the NBA being predominantly black, and then the MLB, NASCAR, and golf being or hockey rather being predominantly white?
Yeah, I think it's necessary. They have to coincide at some point. When you have a black player and his brother is shot, dead or whatever, somebody having the same skin tone as you, it evokes emotions inside of you that regardless of if you're playing baseball or not, things are going to arise and you're going to want to do something about it generally, right? You have more
Right.
people playing, more African Americans or black people playing NFL in the NFL and in the NBA. So it's going to be more prevalent than it is in baseball or golf, whatever. Because if the black man in golf says that or baseball, they may never see games again. So it's a lot at risk, and that's probably why you haven't seen it yet.
I agree with Ashley. Because if you look at baseball, the makeup of baseball is primarily Latinos, Cubans, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans. It's a lot of those guys, and it's some black players, but not numbered like it is with the NBA and the NFL. The reason why you hear about it, like what Ashley alluded to earlier with the example of a gentleman's brother being shot or something like that, you're more likely to hear that in the NFL and the NBA because it is like I said earlier, it's around 70% black, and anytime you have that in there, you have to that it has to it's going to be brought up whether you like it or not.
Right.
But NASCAR, hockey. Okay, we'll say hockey. Let's take a look at hockey. Hockey is predominantly foreigners. Hockey is like soccer. The leagues overseas is where you make the killer money at. The leagues here in America, you do well. You ain't hurting, but at the same time, it's bigger overseas than it is here at home. And there is probably, I don't even know. There's a few black hockey players out there. I think one that plays for the Penguins. Can't remember the young man's name, but he sticks out. I only know that because I watch primarily, we talked about. I watch a lot of sports, so I tend to see things like that. And golf again, outside of Tiger Woods, somebody can tell you, hey, name a black golfer outside of Tiger Woods. Who can you really name? You can't name anybody. NASCAR, we all know it. We all know what NASCAR is.
But
NASCAR
I feel like the problem is we allow someone like Donald Trump to say, you know what, the NASCAR represents the flag well. Let's praise them. As his tweet did reiterate, we praise NASCAR or we praise MLB, Major League Baseball, golf the same. Like, when do we get to a point where we say, like, we're actually segregating through those same comments that the NFL and the NBA, predominantly black athletic institutions, are now being demeaned by our president versus predominantly white sports, which are MLB, well, I can't say MLB, but NASCAR, golf, and the National Hockey League.
I was going to say, because I don't know if you guys heard about this. There is a young man, I can't remember his name, plays for the Athletics. I believe he's a catcher. This guy's kneeling before when the national anthem is played. So you guys are probably, if you haven't heard about it,
that's why I took it back. That's why I took it back.
You're going to hear his name's probably in the news. He's taking a knee.
President Trump.
Go ahead.
Yeah, right.
Really?
It's President Trump, so I don't think it's so much about why he's. It's not so much about he's going against the black leagues as opposed to the white leagues. It's the fact that there are some prominent, visible, strong black players that are going against him. You know what I'm saying? And he's siding with the traditional white ownership mentality I alluded to in the beginning. Like when he said that comment that, what he said, the owners should, I wish I could be there when the owners say those sons of bitches should get off the field or something like, what did he say exactly? I know.
Yeah, he said that.
You know what I'm saying? But that goes back to that old slave
right, good old boy
ownership mentality. I'm the owner. I'm the billionaire. I allow you to play. You make your salary. You go home. You conduct yourself the way I see fit because I'm the owner. And from one point of view, that does make some sense. And because at a place of business, we do conduct ourselves through work rules and compliance. However, these are athletes who have a platform, who are visible, who have a lot of influence. They have a right to voice their opinion and to speak their mind and definitely take a stance against injustice.
Yep. There it is, man. But there is a part of America that they don't like that. Like what Rose just said, they want you to. You see it all day long on social media. Oh, I wish he would just shut up and play football, or I wish he would shut up and shoot the basketball. Right,
and like I think the guy that said something about Stevie Wonder, like. He said, we let you be a millionaire. Something he said like that. I can't remember verbatim, but it's this sense of they let us win,
Right. Exactly. Like, okay, if, and I've made a few comments on social media and to people's face that I was maybe arguing with or trying to get a point across. Without the guys that look like us in these major league sports are not what they are today. They're not. If you look at and they can't stand that when I say that, but is that not factual information? I tell them all the time. There's a scene from Do the Right Thing when the Italian kid is he's ticked off with some of the black people in the neighborhood that works under Sal's Pizza Parlor, I believe it was the name of the pizza place, and Do the Right Thing. And
damn,
him
you
and
broke it down to the damn details of the movie.
Oh yes, sir. Yeah, hey, because that's a very. I'm going to assume everybody has seen that movie. If not, you need to get your Fire Stick or get your red box or whatever it is.
No, we don't promote Fire Stick on here. Go ahead.
Okay, but anyway, whatever format you use to view your movies, you need to view Do the Right Thing. It's definitely something that I think you need to see. But he went down and he asked, I can't remember the gentleman's name in there, but Spike Lee asked him, he said, who's your favorite basketball player? Oh, Magic Johnson. Who's your favorite football player? Oh, Tony Dorsett. All these players in these major league sports that he watches, they are black. All the ones that, he idolizes in those sports, they're black. So for him, the point that Spike Lee was trying to make is, okay, you like those guys, but why don't you like me? You see me every day. You know me personally. Why is it that you don't like me? Well, it's not he likes what you do. He may not like you
exactly.
personally.
They don't
care
about
and that's what it is. The people, I'm gonna go over not as far back, but I'm gonna go, most recently I read a quote I was watching. I'm a big Buckeye fan. That's typically most of us here in Columbus, Ohio. But anyways, Maurice Clarett, the gentleman you guys heard about, Maurice Clarett, everything that happened with him when he was here in Columbus. There was an incident right before the national championship game against Miami in 2002. Okay, he wanted to go home and visit, here's that example, actually, you were talking about earlier. His friend had been shot in Youngstown, and he wanted to go to pay his last respects and go to the funeral. Well, big Ohio State said, well, if you leave, you have to buy your own plane ticket. You have to provide your own way because we can't give you a plane ticket because that'll go against NCAA rules, and we don't want to do that. So he, became angry at the fact that, okay, I'm a college student. I'm earning you millions of dollars. I'm racking up all these yards, and I'm putting Ohio State on the map, but you can't give me a $300 plane ticket for me to fly back to see my friend get put in the ground, pay my last respects, and come back to the game. So what he said was, what he said was big because he said, these people don't love me. They just love what I do. And that's the athletes today. They want you to stay in your place, in your realm. Don't say anything. Just go shoot the basketball, go score me some touchdowns so I can buy your jersey and all this kind of stuff until you come out and you speak against something that they're not into.
Just like Django. I mean, when they were fighting Buck, whatever they call it, like that's what it originates from.
Yeah,
they don't really
fighting.
Yeah, they don't care. They just want to see a fight. They want to see a game. They want to see people banging their heads against each other. Like, I can't endorse football. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
And I'm not going to try to go down this rabbit hole. I'm just going to say this. There was a point in Trump's last speech when he was down in I don't even know where he was talking about, I'd love to see a coach call these sons of bitches and kick them out, blah, blah, blah. He also talked about the fact that he wished they could hit harder. Like he said,
yeah,
I wish they could hit head on and just live it out. And then,
exactly.
Well, to clear that up, he was in Alabama, so we all know when we have our political elections, we all know what color state that is and what that resonates with. So yeah, so it was in Alabama. I don't think would he have made a comment like that in more of a, I guess you could say, quote unquote, a liberal state.
Oh my gosh, anywhere in the country, people love that stuff in football. And no shade to you or anybody that has played football, but it's just the aggression, the angry black man. It's just a lot in it.
Right, yeah. and this to say, like, I get what you're saying, but there is some finesse to it. There is some I'll say that to the game there is some there is some to the game where you
hold on, Tone. I smell a coon.
What?
I smell a coon right now. What's going on, Tone? Tone,
what?
I mean, the coon scent is strong right now. What you saying?
I was just going to make the point that it's to a degree it's a physical game. I will say that, but there's some finesse to the game. There is some, these brothers are using their heads, not just for banging against each other or not just for something that holds the helmet, but they're using their brains.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there's no strategy to it. I definitely not saying that.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at. So it's not, as barbaric as it may appear to be on television. There's some things when you see a guy go fake left and go right. Different
my
things.
thing is that's what they like seeing. They get rah-rah. They jump up. Hit him higher.
Just like the Mandingo fights. Just like
it is the ultimate. Yeah, it is the ultimate. I'm a man. Hear me roar sport. It is, and that's mostly what we love, what gravitates it towards us. What the NFL tells you.
I don't know. I don't think a lot of because so there's a lot of guys that don't really like football, and I think J.Rhodes is one of them. I don't know if
I'm one of them.
So there's some guys that's just like, nah, I'm not really a football fan, and I think that's why. And he can speak for himself. But there are a lot of guys that are just not into it, but very still masculine.
Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, not challenging their masculinity. Yeah, because you look at, I love the game, but then I love sports. So that, to me, that's that's one of the 2 or 3 major sports that, that I watch on television. I don't worship them or anything like that, but I do watch. I follow them very closely. Football just happened to be, my love, my favorite. But to say that, yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. But I mean, I love it. I can understand. I'm not going to challenge anybody's masculinity for those that don't like it, or it's not, the main feather in their cap. I get it. So like you said, to each their own.
Right. No, I'm with you, and I don't want to knock your love for the sport.
And I appreciate that. And I want to ultimately end this with this. My main topic is: does kneeling, sitting, standing, staying in the locker room, or not coming out on the field at all, does that mean anything when it comes to progressing the message that Colin Kaepernick started when he took the kneel? Point blank,
Anything to get
period. Does that
anything to
make a
get that
difference?
attention. Anything to get their attention to say, hey, let's either A, come to the table and discuss how to fix the problem, B, fix the problem. So far, they're pulling back with, well, we don't see the problem. The problem is right here. The same, they try to go to a different reason to why we're kneeling without actually know, hey, I tell people all the time, instead of assuming, why don't you ask? Because instead of assuming that we're kneeling, that these athletes are kneeling because they are trying to discourage the vets and the veterans
Let
that
them
serve
know,
the country.
Ash.
Right. Ask them, say, hey, why are you taking a knee? That's not it. There's people that say that. They totally miss the point, because these guys are kneeling to bring attention to social injustices.
Hold on, Tom. Hold on. Let Ash say. Hold on.
White people, I hate to say this, but they've been doing that
Don't
for
hate
a
to say
real
it. Just
long
speak
time.
it. Speak it.
Because it's not all white people, and I don't want anybody white thinking I'm a racist. But what I'm saying is,
I'm white and you're racist.
what I'm saying is, they know that it's not about that, but they change every single thing, even slavery. Well, I wasn't a part. It's not me, but you're still benefiting from the whole system, and they don't
Irish
speak
people
up.
were enslaved.
Yeah,
Irish people were enslaved.
exactly.
It's
Always an excuse. So it's like, oh no, you're disrespecting the flag and veterans. That's bullshit. You know that's not what I'm saying.
Exactly.
And then see, they try to make it with that to take it to away from the point. I've said on different social media forums, it's not the flag and the veterans is the furthest thing from it, because like I told a gentleman the other day in the grocery store, we were discussing it lightly. There's a lot of African Americans in the armed forces. There's a lot of us in there. There's a lot of people that look like us. So for us to be taking the knee to that's just stupid. And I remember reading a lady. She was a retired veteran. I was reading her comments online. And she made a statement online. She said, I as a veteran, I served for X amount of years, and I'm retired, and this, that, and I can tell you that's not what these young men and women are taking a knee for. It's not the veterans. Why would they slap us in the face like that? But of course, Johnny Patriot.
But to me, you can't tell someone who's taking a knee what they're standing for. Or rather, that's an oxymoron, but you can't tell someone who's standing or kneeling or sitting or not coming out of the locker room. You can't tell them why they're doing it. They're going to tell you why they're doing it.
Right. If you bother to even ask, if you bother to even ask them, or don't just go off of, you're doing this because of this,
But I think our people, to be honest with you, shouldn't even address that. I've learned in my years to just ignore things like that and stay on message. Because what happens is you get drugged down trying to defend something that they know isn't right anyway. It's a tactic. It's a strategy to get you to not be valid. So if we as a people just keep sticking to the message about what it was for in the first place, we will drown them out.
Yep, I agree with that. It needs to be just the same way they use music on the radio station to kind of brainwash you into you hear a song and you hate the song, but you hear it enough, you're gonna start singing that song. So I think
here we go.
We need to do the same thing with putting that message out there.
Now it's about music though. Like,
well, no, it's not about music. I'm using that as an analogy, saying if we to what Ashley was saying, if we keep putting it out there enough and stay on course, keep everything, stay consistent, eventually it's going to hit home. Eventually, just hopefully it's not too late, but it's going to hit home at some point. And to some people, it has, because the smart smart white people do it. smart white people that are intelligent to separate the two, or that's more diverse and have more, diverse group of friends and more have a diverse way of thinking. They're educated. They're well traveled. They know. They know. We've had foreigners from other countries come up and say, "Man, this is crazy." We don't see this. So
Hold on. Go ahead, Rose. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm pretty much agreeing with everybody's saying, but I'm gonna take it to the next level.
Take it, bro.
Are people ready to condemn this country and this government? I'm talking about everybody, like everybody. Because here's the thing, though, right? Here's the thing. We talking about how the president and just general Americans are upset at people protesting the flag because they feel like it disrespects the veterans, right? But at the same time, those veterans are fighting a war that was perpetuated by somebody else. They're killing innocent people from a certain point of view.
Yep.
We're stealing resources from them in the name of liberty, justice, freedom, whatever you want to call it, democracy. This is a country that obviously was founded by pretty much getting rid of Native Americans, genocide, built on indentured slavery, real slavery, discrimination, racism, concentration camps. I mean, not concentration camps, but refugee camps of the Asian Americans. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this country, and even going back to that, its infancy was created by rebelling from the crown. So this country was literally created through defiance, lies, murder, and deceit.
But Johnny Patriot does not see that. Like
exactly. We don't see that because we all enjoy the liberties of freedom of speech. We all enjoy not being by being a part of a monarchy. We all enjoy not being in some third world country in the Congo where they don't have drugs to treat Zika virus and HIV. Right. So we're so proud to be Americans from one point of view. But we're not really looking at ourselves and saying like how technically evil we are to the world. So when we had these terrorist attacks and these extreme Islamists and whoever else, and they say that we're the devil and we're trying to take away their promised land, we're really the bad guys, though.
Oh yeah, I've said that for years. We're bullied. We're bullied. We see something that we want, we go take it. We don't ask questions. We say we see something. For instance, with the Middle East, the oil thing.
But you know what? That's true. It's true. And I hate to say it, but it's true. But this is where we can overthrow, and that's extreme too, this system. But if we don't stick together, like collectively, I mean, everybody, this is not about race now, right? This is about humanity. If we don't stick together, that's always going to be the case. You have, I think, 435 congressional seats that are up in 2018. But who's ready to take over? Who's ready to grow their own food and things like that? Nobody's ready for anything when you really think about it. And I think David Banner said, people talk about, Black Revolution, but you don't even know how to make your own money. Mm-hmm. So nobody's ready.
I tell you, I really applaud like our grandmothers and grandfathers, how blacks were back then with, Black Wall Street and black, independence and having, how Harlem was back in the day. And there's a place over here out in Grove City here in Columbus called, I can't remember what it's called. But anyways, it was all,
black. You don't even know, man. That's sad.
Yeah, Detroit and Chicago was black metropolis too, brother.
Yeah, the name eludes me, but
DC was too.
Which one is Chocolate City? Is it DC or Detroit?
Oh yeah,
that's DC.
Yeah, there you go. So you have that name for a reason. Like I think we need to get back to that, but we've been separated by commercials. This is a topic for a different show, Lip, but. How everything's been separated through, commercial and sports is included, but, music and everything. And it's just made a mess of I can, speak from a black man's point of view. It's made a mess of our culture. It's made a mess. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if the Asian guy or Mexican guy can tell you there's some things that has made a mess of his culture, but I think that personal division is on purpose, so it's to keep us from doing what we're actually just talked about. It's to keep us from doing just that. So, until, enough smart people come to the forefront and say, okay, this is how it's going to be, this is what, it's going to have to happen, then we're always going to be in this circle of trying to find, something to come up without involving the government and without involving too many things and make it, I want to say make it commercial or to put it, mainstream to where it's just being destroyed. So until that happens, we're going to stay right where we are. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but
Yep.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody on the podcast tonight. I still have one question. Does kneeling, sitting, and standing for the flag do anything?
long enough when done long enough. By and maybe like what we're seeing right now with the right people involved. Again, staying consistent, and I think it will eventually.
Remember, no one act alone makes change, but like I said, it does create the conversation, the awareness, and it's a start of something. Just like marching. Marching alone doesn't do anything, but it's a start of something bigger.
All right, Ash, what you got?
I'm going to share the sentiments of the guys and say, yeah, it's a start. It brings attention. It brings people together. But again, you're always going to have those people who try to derail the conversation. So just stay on message.
All right, stay on message. I want to thank everybody on panel tonight. I want to thank my co-host, my big bro, J.Rhodes, representing Detroit by way of the Shy. I love you, bro. Thank you for joining us.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. Had a great time with you folks.
I gotta appreciate the queen, Ash. Ash, thank you for joining us tonight.
Anytime. It's always good to be on with you guys.
And of course, the big homie, the big bro, Tone G. Tony, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for joining us.
Not a problem, man. Anytime, man. Thank you for reaching out, man. Always, you always ready to.
That's enough. That's enough. So with that being said, you already know what this is, and you know who I am. It's Thinking Out Loud. It's your boy Jalen, and we out.
I got a couple extra.
I don't be rude to your guests.
I said, and we out.
Hey, walk out to the middle of the street.
This episode of Thinking Out Loud was executive produced by J. Lip. Music provided by Daisy Smith. Artwork and logo provided by Rob D. And sponsored by you, the people. We thank you for listening.